Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. We have been playing a solo campaign of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and we're taking a real close and in-depth look at the Hex Clearing Protocol. This is Castle Weasel. It is a huge ruined pile that we're reclaiming for ourselves. By the time this video goes live, it will look, well, it used to look a little something like this. See the wrecked wall? We built a little palisade and dug a little ditch around there so that we're relatively protected. We fixed up the doors here. And by the time you watch this, it will look a little closer to something like this. We built ourselves a tower here. This was the weak point of the wall, obviously. That's where whoever attacked and burned the place to the ground got in. So we thought maybe we should reinforce that with a little tower. We may build another little tower over here. There is a postern gate. Who knows? Maybe we'll even extend this ditch a little further. Dig a nice little 10-foot ditch around here just to make it a little bit harder. There is an outcrop here. This is probably the highest point in the region, at least in that 1 mile hex. And this is the 1 mile hex right here, the big red hex. Each of the small blue hexes is about 200 yards, which is great because we can translate this down and we could even maybe, a typical war game table. We've talked about this before. It's going to be about 2 hexes by 3 hexes. This is called Watery Tart Pond. It is the home to 36 giant frogs. And it's a little close, right? It's only 400 yards from the castle. So we really need to do something about those giant frogs. We also have a small army to feed. Now we are hauling food, beans, bacon, whiskey, and lard, the 4 main food groups. There's a reference for you guys. I think 90s kids will understand, maybe. Anyway, from far, far away, but I'm assuming that our light infantry, we've got some hunters out there. We're drawing some ne'er-do-wells. We may have a few people start showing up. Remember, we're doing this in 1-to-1 time. So by the end of April, we need to get some farmers in, and we need to start clearing some of this farmland over here. We've chased the trolls off from the swamp. We don't know how big the swamp is here. This swamp could extend for, miles up in this direction. For now, that's all we know. These are all badlands, and we'll explore these other hexes once we have a little more secure base. Once we get some farmers in here. But we can't really do that until we clear out these toads. Maybe we can. We just warn people off. There's a bridge here. There's a bridge here by the swamp. Maybe we can drain that swamp, expand the pond a little bit. We need to start thinning the numbers, and that sounds pretty dangerous, and that sounds like an opportunity. We can run guys down there to hunt them frogs, and as some of the commenters in recent videos have pointed out, there's good eating in them. We got to hire ourselves some Cajuns down there, going to come back up here, and they're going to do the whole... I don't know why my Cajun accent sounds like Boomhauer. But, they'll go down there, fry them up, and it'll be a good little meal for our boys. How do we do that? Well, you could just run a battle with 36 giant frogs, but let's take a look at what those giant frogs are and see if there's another way we might approach this as a solo wargamer. Maybe we can incorporate something that's a little fun and a little different. Hey, not yet. Wait for your cue. Something that's fun and a little different. Giant frogs, of course, are listed under not the G. Apologies for those of you with the headphones on as I flip. F, oh no, F comes before G in the American alphabet. I don't know about you British people throwing U's in all over the place. There we go, giant frogs. So we have giant frogs, and these guys, armor class of 7. There's a lot of them. We rolled high. There's 5 to 40. We got 36. Youch. All right, what are we looking at here? Hit dice 1 to 3. Well, we don't have to hunt them all down at once. That pond is, 200 yards across, 200 by 600 yards. I mean, that's as many as, 12 football fields, which is probably the same as 12 soccer fields, which is the same as 12 football fields. Near enough makes no difference, close enough for what we're doing. So we could probably put together a little miniature war game. And I wonder if there's a game that we could use. Of course there is. Now's your cue. Come on in, Bladestorm. Because Bladestorm here actually incorporates, for those of you that are more D&D guys, more RPG guys, less miniature wargame guys, Bladestorm is produced by, you can tell from the art, it looks very similar to the Middle-earth role-playing games, the old school way back in the 80s. The cover art is by Angus McBride, it says here. And this was produced by Iron Crown Enterprises, same people. Now, Iron Crown Enterprises also gave us Spell Law, Arms Law, Space Law. What was this? I can't remember what this science fiction one was called. I think it's Space Law. Their fantasy game had an in-universe campaign world, if you will, and it was called like the Shadowlands or something like that, or maybe the Shadow. I can't remember. Shadowlands might be the continent that the Bladestorms appear on. Be that as it may, this rulebook came out in. Oh, I was going to look for it here just to give you the straight dope. 1990. So this came out a full. Well, and here we go. 79. 11 years after this game came out. Bladestorm. It was still the juggernaut. It's big enough and influential enough that there is a conversion set here in Bladestorm. See? 4.2 from D&D. To convert D&D stats to Bladestorm stats, follow these guidelines. Movement rate is D&D move times 8. Melee attack is 20 minus the D&D to hit roll for AC 10 plus the BS weapon attack value. But note, D&D is TSRs. Lake Geneva. TSR was still in Lake Geneva at the time for their fantasy role-playing. Our references and always meant to indicate they have license. Yeah, the legal speak, right? This was before... Hey, kids, come around here while I tell you about when we wore onions on our belts in the days before such a thing as the D20 license or the OSR, where you had to put all this kind of mumbo jumbo in your books so you didn't get sued by the people who made their bones using material without permission, like the John Carter and Lord of the Rings stuff. But it's the circle of life, right? Anyway, with missile attack 20 minus the 2-hit roll to AC. So we can go through all these and we can actually build ourselves a couple of giant frogs. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different to kind of cycle this back around to the Wolflands rather than do that. We've talked about different options that you have. My goal here is to clear out some of these frogs, make it a little safer, maybe not clear them all out just yet. And the idea here is I'm going to run a 10v2 fight. Now, why 10v2? Because I only have 2 giant frogs. Okay, these came out of a gumball machine or maybe a little package of cheap toys at the Walmart. Can't remember, but that's how big they are in relation to my 15 millimeter figures. So that is indeed a giant frog. My light infantry, I'm going to be sending them in, and I'm going to have 5 bowmen and 5 spearmen. I'll warn you, this is a bit of an experiment. We like to do that here at the channel. We try things, see how they work. If it works well, if we have a total party kill, then we're going to wait until we have things a little safer before we actually, we're going to cross 10 guys off our roster, and then we'll put together a more effective plan. But if we have a successful foray, then what we can do is say, look, every week we send some guys out to hunt some frogs, and whatever happens in the one tabletop game will be our guide. If we lose half our guys to kill 2 frogs, then that tells us it's a 5 guy to 2 frog ratio. 18 there's 36 frogs, so 18 pairs of frogs. 18 times 5 is 90. It's going to cost me 90 souls to clear out these frogs. Frogs swim around, they lay eggs, they have little tiny baby frogs that grow up to be giant frogs. It's an adventure game, okay? We don't need to worry so much about like ecosystems and all that. What we do need to worry about is what do the stats for these guys look like if we want to use these rules to find out what a fight 10v2 would look like. If we manage to lose only 1 guy, okay, now maybe 18 light guys to maybe at the cost of 18 souls, God rest you, thank you for your service. That might be a suitable price to pay to have our first fully cleared hex with a half a mile safety in all directions. Just stay away, stay out of the woods, stay out of the grasslands. We can start exploring this next fringe around here. We can see how far the swamp goes. I assume that our 10 medium cavalry, now we got 10 that are escorting the wagons back and forth all the time. The other 10 are kind of riding around patrolling, making sure that no more ogres, trolls, giant frogs, and whatnot show up. So let's take a look. Movement rate is a little bit tricky. It's your D&D movement in inches times 0.8 round off. Well, our giant frogs have a speed of 3 inches, and then they can leap up to 9 inches. You got to read over here they have some pretty impressive abilities. They can leap up to 18 inches. Remember, that's tabletop. That's why these stats are in inches. But for every 50 pounds over like 200, you reduce that by 2 inches. So what I'm going to do for my tabletop setup is you multiply this and you get, so instead of 3 inches, they're going to move let's see, it's 3 times, that's 2.4. It says round off. When they're just lumping around on the table, they're only going to be able to move 2 inches. Now they can move across water without penalty. Their leap is going to be 12 inches. The big thing to look at is the hit dice. These guys are 1 to 3 hit dice. The guys that are 1 hit die, they're little 2-foot frogs. Our frogs, again, just to show you for scale, there's a 15 millimeter figure, and here's one of the giant frogs we're dealing with. He is a beast. His body is almost 6 to 8 feet long. Of course, he's representative. He's a little out of scale. We'll call him a 3-hit die monster. That might be a problem for us. We'll have to see. So what I'm going to do is assume that they can move 2 inches on foot and they can jump over terrain a total of 12 inches. Our archers might not have a whole lot of time to get some shots off. The melee attack is 20 minus the D&D to hit roll for AC 10. For a 3-hit die monster, you're looking at a 6. In other words, our melee attack is going to be 20 minus 6. That's plus 14 plus the basic weapon attack value. What are you talking about? Well, the basic value here is a bite. And if this is a large creature, his base value is 3d6 minus 1 plus 13. He can't miss. I don't know about that, Chief. Let's take a look. Now, the game does, remember we got the box set. So the box set does come with a Bladestorm bestiary. And while thumbing through this, I'm not going to use it for reasons that will become apparent pretty quick. Here's giant animals. It comes with saber-toothed tigers. The stats for, I should say. It doesn't come with a saber-toothed tiger. Oh man, it would have been a lot more popular if it did. Has the stats for giant scorpions, eagles, serpents, spiders, ant, and beetle. All right, well, no frogs? Oh, come on. How, you guys from 1990, you should have known. Well, serpents, spiders, those are pretty close. And they're right up here on page 11. Oh, look at that. Serpent is right here. So if we take a look at the serpent stat block, it says melee attack 3d6 plus 6. I like that. And it does have some special abilities for poison. All right, now we don't have poisonous frogs in this case. Whole different animal right there. Here's the stat block for poisonous frogs. Fortunately, we didn't roll that. So we're looking at the Great Serpent. And we see 3d6 plus 6. That seems a little more reasonable to me. 3d6 plus 13. Because remember, we started at -1, went to 13. That's a little bit nuts. So I don't know about that, guys. Who wrote this again? I should give credit. Coleman Charltnoy. The dude layouts. Where's the? I don't know. Terry Amthor. That's the guy we're talking about. God rest his soul. We can also take a look at the giant scorpion and see what it does. 2d6 plus d10 plus 3. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Once you tick over into the d10, got it. It doesn't really say this any here, but this seems pretty reasonable. The melee attack is going to be 2d6 plus 1d10 plus 4. So when you tick over that double-digit bonus, we'll just bump the die up, okay? And then because it was plus 13, it was actually, we're at -1 plus 14. That gives us a plus 13, so it's going to be d10 plus 3. Yeah, so our minimum roll is a 6. They're probably not going to miss. It's still almost as good as an auto hit for our troopers. We'll talk about our troopers here in a little bit. But that kind of solves that problem right there. And we're dipping our toes into the bestiary, which is nice because we've got it. We might as well use it. If only we had rolled giant scorpions, right? Going back to our conversion factors. Our damage is going to be the basic weapon damage value. We talked about that. It's going to be medium times 2. I'm not sure what they mean by small, medium, and large, but large, these are big figures, so we'll go with medium times 2. On the 2d6 plus a d10, when we hit, it's going to be gnarly for our light infantry, and we'll drop down so we can read this a little better. All right, what about missile attack? We don't have that. Now, they do have a big tongue that will do no damage when it strikes, but it pulls you in and it will swallow you whole. And we'll factor that into the rules as well. We have to kind of again, turn our attention to the bestiary or bestiary, however you want to pronounce it. One thing we can determine is what our defense is. 7 plus the dexterity adjustments. Okay. Well, again, frogs don't have a dexterity adjustment. They have an AC of, it says here, 7. Okay, so I'm inclined to give them an armor value of 7 plus nothing. Just keep it 7. And then for the shield, they don't have shields, but maybe we give them a damage reduction of -1. So every time you hit them, you better score at least 2 points or you're not going to hurt them. And then we come down to morale. 10 minus the D&D level times 0.4, round down. Again, 3 hit die creature. It's going to be a 1, so their morale becomes a 9. The resistance, we don't have to worry about that because we're not sending any wizards out. And endurance, this is the big one. D&D hit points times 0.6. Well, a 3 hit die creature, if we're rolling D8s for hit points, 4.5 times 3 gives you 13.5. We'll call it 15 just to bump it up a little bit. 15 times 0.6 is going to give you like 8 hit points. Bro, I don't know about that, Chief. Right? So small to medium. I think 6 hit points. These things are going to die like flies, man. We need to seriously bump this up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and give them, I'm going to do things a little bit different. I'm actually going to treat their endurance as 12. And again, part of that is, I guess we're going after like the God Emperor. We're going after the big Mamma Jamma toads first to start off. But that's just to keep it fair because we have to repeat this process for our troopers. After putting it all together, I wind up with stat blocks that look like this. For the troopers, move 6 inches. That's pretty reasonable. They're a little slower in this game, but that's all right. They're going to melee with their short swords at 3d6 -1. I really don't understand how this base attack weapon thing works. If you look in the stat blocks here in our game of choice, they give you a list of weapons. So, for example, I'll show you the bows. Short bows, 2d6 -3. Wow, that's pretty terrible. They only have a 12-inch range. I'm giving these guys long bows that gives them a 20-inch range. They roll 2d6 plus a d10 -4. They do low times 2 plus 2. All right, so that's the stat that we're going to use. I don't know what the heck these guys are talking about when they say start with that and then, you know, the weapon, it's 20 minus that plus that. I'm sorry, I just don't get it. Like, so we're just going to ignore that 20 minus, all right? For the weapon damage, right, plus magical bonuses. So if you have a +1 sword, you're going to do +1 damage here. But our guys are going to use the weapons as written. And so that means we're looking at missile volleys. Like I said, they have they have 20-inch range. And of course, remember beyond the 20-inch range, it's -2 to hit for every inch beyond that or something like that. Then we get to the interesting part. They have a defense of 7, right? No dex bonus for these guys. These are mooks. If they had dex bonuses, they would have been PCs. I'm going to call it boiled leather. This gives them a little bit more saving ability. The soft skin of the frogs is a -1 damage resistance. These guys have a -2. Their morale, again, if we look at the little equation here, math is fun, kids. It's 10 minus the level times 0.4. Well, the level is 0, you know, or maybe even 1, but we round down, so it's just going to be straight 10 for these guys. Endurance, now these hirelings have 2 to 7 hit points. All right, well, we roll a d6. The average value is going to be 3.5. Round off to 3. They're only going to have 4 hit points. And now I'm thinking, if their endurance is 4, like a single chomp is going to put them out of action. And maybe we should go with the standard endurance for the toads, with 3.5 times 3 being 11. No, it's 4.5 times 3 is 13.5 times 0.5 or times 0.6, I should say. That gives us a little more than half. It's going to give us 7 hit points, which means they're not going to last long. They're going to die pretty quick, you know. But it's going to take more than a single volley from the bow guys. I'm going to give the tongue. It says in the rules here that the tongue is 3 times the length of the frog. Okay, well, my frog's about 1 inch long, so I'm going to call it a 3-inch range. If it attacks with the tongue, it draws you into its hold. You can't attack. Not you, I mean the figure. And on the next turn, it automatically bites for the medium times 2 damage. I hope your friends can save you, or you're going down his short gullet. With an endurance of 7, they might not last very long, but ultimately we're looking at a total of 40 versus 14, and we want to know how pricey it's going to be to chase these guys out of Watery Tart Pond. Kind of an interesting little exercise here, and we'll have a little fun playing out our skirmish game on the tabletop. But before we go any further, I did want to just kind of show you what else is included in this bestiary so you can build your collection accordingly. It does have rules for zombies, skeletons. Zombie skeletons. No, it has giant skeletons. Skeleton lords. We got flying beasts. We got something called a nasty. We got vapor hounds, water hounds. Additional scenarios. Boy, I didn't even see these. We're discovering this together. Terror from the skies. Little city. A little more caverns here. Let's take a look. I don't think these are in the... There's the Gates of Dawn. That must be one of the magic portals that takes you to the Shadowlands. Battle at the Gates of Dawn. That's kind of fun. Horror in the forest. Ooh, this is one. I could do this terrain. How many boys are in this? We've got Erlini Scouts. And we've got shards. We've got 2 lesser shards. What is a shard? I think I do that when I've had too much. I'm not going to go there. I was going to make a Mexican food joke, but that would be inappropriate. This is a kids channel. So 2 shards, and look at all the damage they've got. I think our little frogs versus dudes scenario is going to go quick, but it'll still be a lot of fun. Maybe we'll throw some random terrain down to mix things up a little bit. Remember, frogs can jump over terrain, and they can jump into. So if their morale fails, it's possible that they break off from contact and they jump back into the pond from whence they came. And so we wind up being like, well, cost us 2 guys to kill that 1 frog, and there's still 1 out there. So that's going to take us a lot longer because they tend to get away. Even if we have our 10 boys, we may need to revisit this. But there you go. That's how you use your campaign, your D&D campaign, to generate an organic scenario. And in the past, I've said, hey, why doesn't somebody run that for me? But I kind of want to run it myself. I want to see what a D&D scenario looks like after you go to the trouble of translating. Do you have to do this? No. Does this mean that I thought you were always AD&D raw. Aren't you? You have no credibility because you're going against everything you always say to people. But what they should do, Mr. Wargaming, who are you to go against yourself? Hey, first of all, it's okay when I do it. Second of all, don't be a sped. Third of all, it's just a little experiment. Okay, lighten up. We're having a good time, guys. I know not you guys. You guys that are watching us right now, you're very handsome, very charming. And the world is a better place for having you in it. Keep an eye out for the battle of the dudes versus the frogs. Till next time, I'm praying for you.